Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, orbiting at an average distance of about 36 million miles. Despite its proximity to the Sun, Mercury does not have a thick atmosphere to trap heat like Venus does. Instead, it has an extremely thin exosphere made up of atoms blasted off its surface by solar winds and micrometeoroid impacts. This lack of a protective atmosphere results in extreme temperature fluctuations, making Mercury one of the most inhospitable places in the solar system. During the day, its surface can reach scorching temperatures of 800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt some metals. However, at night, without an atmosphere to retain heat, temperatures plummet to a bone-chilling 290 degrees Fahrenheit. This drastic difference between the day and night sides makes Mercury an incredibly harsh environment where survival is virtually impossible. If you were to set foot on Mercury for just 50 seconds, you would face an immediate and unavoidable death sentence. The first and most critical problem would be the lack of oxygen. Since Mercury does not have an atmosphere, there is no air to breathe. Without a proper life support system, you would lose consciousness within seconds. Additionally, without an atmosphere to filter the sun's rays, Mercury is constantly bombarded with intense solar radiation. The exposure to these high-energy particles would cause severe damage to your body almost instantly. The combination of extreme temperatures, unfiltered radiation, and the absence of oxygen makes it clear that no human could survive unprotected on the surface of Mercury. The moment you step out of your spaceship onto Mercury's surface, you would face immediate and life-threatening dangers. The lack of atmosphere means there is no oxygen to breathe, meaning that without a pressurized spacesuit with its own oxygen supply, you would suffocate almost instantly. Additionally, without an atmospheric buffer, the sun's radiation would hit you with full force. On Earth, our atmosphere absorbs and scatters harmful solar radiation, but Mercury has no such protection. As a result, standing on the surface for even a few seconds would expose you to extreme levels of ultraviolet and X-ray radiation, increasing the risk of severe burns and cellular damage. If your spacesuit were not designed for such extreme conditions, it might not last long enough to protect you from the lethal environment. If you were to land on the day side of Mercury, the heat would become your worst enemy almost immediately. The surface temperature reaches a blistering 800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt materials like lead and zinc. A standard spacesuit would likely begin to overheat rapidly, and in extreme cases, could even begin to break down or melt under the intense heat. The heat would be so extreme that even within the 50-second time frame, you could suffer severe burns and heat stroke, leading to a painful and rapid demise. On the other hand, if you landed on the night side of Mercury, you would face the opposite but equally deadly problem. With temperatures plummeting to 290 degrees Fahrenheit, any exposed part of your body would freeze almost instantly. Without a specially insulated suit, you would experience hypothermia in mere moments, causing your body to shut down long before the 50-second mark. In either scenario, the temperature extremes on Mercury would make survival impossible, proving that spending even a fraction of a minute on this unforgiving planet would be a fatal decision. One of the most lethal dangers of stepping onto Mercury is the overwhelming amount of solar radiation you would be exposed to. Unlike Earth, which has a thick atmosphere and a strong magnetic field to deflect harmful solar rays, Mercury has almost no protection against the sun's intense energy. Without an atmosphere to filter ultraviolet and X-ray radiation, you would be directly bombarded with deadly levels of solar radiation the moment you stepped outside your spaceship. Additionally, The sun appears almost 3 times larger in the sky on Mercury compared to how it looks from Earth. This means that the planet is constantly bathed in extreme heat and high-energy radiation, making prolonged exposure fatal. In just a matter of seconds, your skin would begin to burn, and radiation poisoning would set in. Even with a spacesuit, unfiltered exposure to this intense radiation would cause irreversible cellular damage, leading to a slow and painful demise. The only way to survive Mercury's deadly radiation would be to remain underground or within a heavily shielded spacecraft, something that current technology has yet to make feasible for human habitation. The amount of time you could survive on Mercury would depend entirely on the kind of protective suit you are wearing. If you were to step onto the planet in a standard spacesuit designed for the conditions on Mars or the Moon, you would last mere seconds before the heat, radiation, and lack of oxygen overwhelmed your body. The suit would quickly overheat, and the exposure to solar radiation would begin to cook your skin from the inside out. However, if you were equipped with a highly advanced spacesuit engineered specifically for Mercury's extreme environment, you might be able to endure up to 50 seconds before the conditions became unbearable. The suit would need to be insulated against both extreme heat and extreme cold, resistant to intense radiation, and capable of supplying enough oxygen to keep you alive. Even then, you would likely experience severe discomfort, as the suit would struggle to regulate the massive temperature shifts and shield you from the relentless solar bombardment. No matter how advanced your suit might be, death would be almost certain before the 1-minute mark, making Mercury one of the most inhospitable places in the solar system. Given its deadly combination of extreme temperatures, unfiltered solar radiation, and the complete lack of breathable air, surviving on Mercury is currently impossible with today's technology. However, scientists continue to study the planet in hopes of understanding its geology, history, and potential for future missions. If humans were ever to set foot on Mercury, they would need to construct underground shelters or develop advanced spacecraft capable of withstanding its brutal conditions. For now, living on Mercury remains a distant and unrealistic dream. The planet is simply too hostile for any long-term human presence. But as technology advances, who knows what the future may hold? Perhaps one day, humanity will develop the means to survive the unthinkable. The real question is, would you dare to take the challenge of spending 50 seconds on Mercury?